Even though it may not feel this way when you're in the thick of a challenging LSAT stimulus, difficult questions are really just easy questions with extra steps. That is to say, even when questions are at their hardest, they will still use the very same skills that are needed for the easiest questions. Don't reinvent the wheel. Fall back on the tried and true strategies you've been practicing. Even when you're stuck and you're not sure you've understood the stimulus well enough to find a correct answer, keep in mind that there are helpful patterns that will hold for the vast majority of questions you encounter across the entire continuum of difficulty. If you find yourself struggling to differentiate between two choices in a strengthen or weaken question, check out the logical force. All things being equal for these questions, strong language is preferred. Weak choices that address some exceptional cases are usually not enough to logically affect the argument being made. Likewise, sufficient answers are also typically strong and absolute. We need them to be because they have to guarantee that the conclusion follows from the evidence. They tend to use words like all, every, only, and the like. Necessary answers, on the other hand, are typically weak or laid back in their wording. They'll say at least one or some. To use a classic syllogism, say we want to show that Socrates is mortal because Socrates is a man. Knowing that all men are mortal is sufficient to prove the conclusion, but it's not necessary. We don't need all men to be mortal. We just need at least one to be. This gets us part of the way there, but not all the way, because we'd still need to show that Socrates is one of these men. Necessary answers can sometimes be strong, though. These usually take the form of a negative statement that shoots down an alternative explanation. If I wanted to explain why I can't find my cat, I might note that because the door has been left open, she must have wandered out on her own. She wasn't abducted by aliens is a necessary assumption here, and a strongly worded one at that. Explain and resolve answers tend to be strong as well, since they have to give us enough information to be confident that the apparent paradox isn't actually the logical crisis it appears to be. Wrong choices are often also strongly worded, but they're either irrelevant to the central mystery or, rarely, deepen the mystery, making things even more puzzling. So yeah, keep in mind that the LSAT creates tough questions by taking easy questions and adding something to make them more challenging, kind of like taking your family dog and dyeing it pink. At the end of the day, it's still your dog, and you'll treat it the same way you always did, even if it looks a little strange. Oh, and one more thing. Sometimes the answer to how do I deal with this tough question is don't. We can miss more questions than you might think and still get a 166, a score in the 90th percentile. We can even get a perfect 180 with a mistake or two. So don't fall prey to ego or stubbornness, refusing to move on to the next question before finishing this one, no matter the cost. The moment you realize a question will be too difficult or take too much time, feel free to nope right out of it, quickly pick an answer based on anything you have figured out, and bank that time for the remaining questions.